From the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, first of all, let's apologize to Cheryl. I told her that would only be 15 minutes promised, and I only missed it, by 25, so that's pretty solid work. Sorry, Cheryl. We had an executive session, which is the thing we're talking about, to discuss contracts. And now here we are. All right, Doctor, take over.
All right, we'll start off with the Gateway Middle School update. We have Hank and Doug and Bob here to kind of walk us through the progress and updates. So,
I'll go ahead and start. For the number, by last month's billing, we're at 91% complete. So that means we've got 9% of cost of work to go. We are currently forecasting completion no later than.
Could you go to the microphone, please, so the folks at home could hear?
Okay.
It should be on. It's just.
You can just talk.
Okay. Again, to say what I started with, we're 91% complete based on the October billings. And we are nearing completion of the project, but we're still a little ways off, probably a few months at least. And that's pretty much just short of it. Some details, the classrooms, we're nearing completion on all the classrooms. Where we're having some challenges to get done is in the cafeteria with Trazo and the 2 gyms. We have site work that's going on right now as well, and we're getting ready to do the final paving, get the parking lot ready.
How's the baseball field?
That would be Bob, but I can say from standing on the roof of the high school, the baseball field is stoned and ready for its carpeting. The track is done, or just needs what, line striping, Bob?
Yeah, they're waiting on the great weather and paint the lines, tracks in, football fields in, turf is to be delivered late next week.
So when would they be complete?
Well, that's not Doug's part of it, but the football field is complete. The track, they just have to paint the lines on it, and they're looking within the next 2 weeks to do that. Once the turf comes, it takes them approximately 3 weeks to lay the turf in baseball.
Okay.
What color are we doing the baseball field?
It's exactly like we have up the high school field, without the lettering on the sides. We did no extra lettering.
Are we taking into consideration, because of the, pitcher's mound, everything, being filled every time it's being used, like they said?
We do that now, not every single time. We do that once a week, that we move the rubber from where it slides and gets filled up and back, but it's just like the high school baseball field. The mound, everything.
Okay, question. I'd stopped over at Gateway Middle. Doug, I asked you about this, and I just trying to clarify. I'd asked you about the toilets, and we got into the china, the fixtures, whatever. You had mentioned that they cleaned up old toilets and we're using old toilets.
In some instances, we're reusing the existing china, the porcelain fixtures. We have new water faucets on them, flush valves.
Yeah, so the china, the porcelain lasts almost indefinitely.
Are we talking toilets or sinks?
Toilets and sinks. The reason you replace the china is if it's cracked or if it's stained and can't be cleaned. Because the china is the china. But all the workings, the faucets, the handles, the drains, the flush valves, all that stuff is all new on all the china. The china doesn't go bad. All that other stuff is what goes bad.
So on the toilets that we're talking about, are they automatic flushes or are they going to be hand
The
flushed.
automatic flushes, battery operated automatic flushes.
You can do that with the toilets that were
Because
existing.
all that's new, all that's
Okay.
new on the China. The only thing that's left is the white piece of porcelain.
The bowl.
Yeah.
And that's what we anticipated from the start of this project.
Yes.
So how many toilets did we order?
Where we put in new restrooms, that's all new China, new toilets. Where we're renovating the existing restrooms, if the China was in good shape, we left the China and replaced all of the things that go bad on the fixtures.
So did we have to, so that was already in the original
Yes.
things?
The only thing that's changed from what was originally designed was the fact that there was some vandalism done in the project early on, if you remember. And some of the china was damaged. So what we did at that point was, they didn't damage all the china in one restroom. And we went around and did it a little bit to all the restrooms. So we took china from some restrooms to put into others so that it all matched. And then we had to buy new china for the damaged stuff and put it in some existing restrooms.
Okay, so we don't have new china laying around that we're not gonna use, it was just never ordered.
No, it was never in the project.
Okay. Battery operated automatic?
Yeah, that's better because,
It's normal. We have them now.
right,
I-
and
I-
you go
I
around in
never-
the summer, you replace the batteries once a year, and then there's a lot less to go wrong with the battery operated ones than the wired electronic ones.
Plus, you don't have to pay for wiring them. You would have to put transformers in and run low voltage wiring to each fixture.
Yeah, I didn't know battery operated was an option, that was more really, battery
Yep.
okay. Are they like just little AA batteries?
They're 9 volts, they're 9 volts, right? The little rectangular batteries.
No, they're actually a different battery. It looks like a 9-volt battery.
Could you bring one of those? I'm just kidding.
So if we Google online, we can see what these battery operated
Yeah, I
toilets are
just-
like.
I just thought that was-
See every day.
They're the ones, yeah, most of the ones that you see when you're out and about, they're battery operated.
Huh. Learned something new.
The
Okay,
battery runs the photoelectric cell so that when you stand up and you walk out, it knows that some movement has occurred. That's what causes the trigger. And it's a very small amount of electricity that runs that, right? These batteries last a pretty good while.
Yeah, they last 2 to 3 years depending on usage.
okay, another, I'm gonna get off the batteries. The wiring in the building, how far along are we with that?
Off the top of my head, I would say we're probably, wiring itself, probably about 90% or more complete. We also have, with the electrician, thinking ahead, he also has to put in lighting fixtures afterwards. Because the wiring is what you put in the walls, you run it in or below the ceiling, we call it rough-in. And then after that, then you have to put the lighting fixtures in, the outlets in the wall. So the wiring is at least 90%. The lighting fixtures are probably, they're more than 50%, maybe 60% complete. And a lot of that depends on ceiling grid being installed so they can lay the light fixtures in the ceiling.
So when we're talking 90% and 50% done, do we see a date where it will be done?
Right now, I'm working on a completion schedule for the project, which depends on the contractors giving me their information. I don't tell them what they're going to do. They have to tell me what they want to do or what they have to do. And right now, I'm waiting for that information to come in so I can put it together. But worst case forecast, and we've made forecasts before, obviously the contractors haven't met them. But I would say no later than the end of March.
So we're already looking at 2 months left in the school here.
Is there anything else you think we should know?
There's no secrets. We're trying to get this thing done.
No, I know we interrupted you with questions, I didn't know if you were.
But we did want to present there's one change order for supplemental steel that we've talked about multiple times. We finally have a final number for that.
Yeah.
And that's something we would like
the board to get on the agenda and have it on at their desk.
I can get that to Mike, the actual written change order, but the dollar amount is $212,555.
Thank you. Mr. Jack, I'm going to ask you, do you think it's feasible to move the students for 2 months?
For 2 months.
If he's saying the end of March, we're looking at April, May.
I don't know how we have the time to do that, truthfully, to get things over. I mean, with the new furniture that, we're getting in the new building, I mean, that helps a lot, but there's still a lot to do. I don't know, if it's 2 months.
So we're saying, since nobody's saying this, that we're going to be staying here at the old building for this year.
I mean, I'm still planning on moving in January 2nd, my office over there, I don't know what extent.
Look how straight he was too for that, like, he was holding it straight.
Yeah, truthfully, I mean, we would all love to be over there as soon as possible, but from a feasibility standpoint,
I mean, would we be able to get that together with the buses and the teachers and the amount of school calendar days versus teacher days left? Like, all that.
I assume, Mr. Jack, you have lots of experience in this field of moving hundreds of students and all the accoutrement. Yeah.
prior to my career in
Yeah,
education.
yeah.
Look, like I said, we all greatly want to move as soon as possible. I mean, just the shininess and the new building, but truth be told, just the space that we're going to be able to, to have. But at the end of the day,
I guess my reason for asking is, we are always saying we're not being transparent, whatever. So this is the opportunity to say, what's going to happen. And I hate to put that on, anybody's shoulders, but, we are here middle of November and they're saying the end of March. So this is,
We really don't want to disrupt the kids with only 2 months left, so we're feeling it'd be best interest to wait till next school year to officially move everything.
Right, we're asking if it's reasonable to expect you, your entire staff, and transportation to do it for 2 months. Is that actually a reasonable expectation and maintain some sense of stability?
that could be Dr. Rossi too. You put him in the spot.
Like, it's not gonna be.
You're just going to allow me to.
Go ahead. I was waiting, you gonna jump in here?
I'll give you my recommendation, based off the information we have today, is that we would just stay here.
Okay.
But we would use those 2 months really to do some transitions. So we have PSSAs around that time, but I think we could do some different things with field days and orientations over there. If the building's ready in April, May, we could really get the kids over there.
Yeah.
Even the 4th graders over there, spend some time in the building by themselves with the teachers and the principals and going through the cafeteria line, do all that stuff now in May, I think would be prudent. We could do that.
I think it's a good idea, gives them a chance to acclimate themselves.
Absolutely.
Because it's a whole new school. Even people that were there before, it's gonna be new to them.
They're not going to know where, the bus drop off, the car pickup.
Gradual transitions,
Yeah.
like you said. I just don't want to see them all trying to do this in September and lose September. You know what I'm saying? It's not that I feel it's feasible for 2 months if that were the case, but if we could do some gradual kind of transporting and getting them in.
We're ready in the spring. I mean, we'll work with Mr. Jack and make sure we have the transition
Make
activities.
sure the contractors.
Right.
We're ready, we're ready.
We got 9% to go.
So Guy, along those same sort of lines, along the lines of what Susan said, if we could find a way to acclimate at least some of the students to the new smell and location and the signage and the hallway patterns and all those things during the summer, would that, if in other words, we got some kids who could be leaders, so to speak, team leaders in helping the other kids get adjusted on day one, could we invent some sort of programs during the summer where we would bring some of those kids in and give them games or hide and seek or, roll out the basketball and have a summer program. So get the kids into school so that they at least see it and they understand.
Well, he said May, you know.
We'll do that. We'll have a structured, we didn't really talk about this because we learned about this tonight. We'll have a structured, like, orientation, like when it's done in the spring. However, we also have some open house times, open time for even parents to come in, walk the schedule, walk the building, and we'll have that scheduled throughout, the summer through the, up to the first teacher day. We'll make sure, yeah. And, Mike doesn't, he doesn't even know how, he knows in his mind how the buses are going to come in and where the kids are going to go, but it would be nice we'll take 5th grade over there, pretend they're coming in for, for the morning and where they go in their classrooms, and kind of do some mock runs for them as well. So everyone's comfortable in August when we move in.
So it won't be all brand new.
It's not going to be brand new, right, right.
So we shouldn't have any weather delays because everything's indoors now, right?
The only thing we have is the paving. Plants shut down typically after Thanksgiving. Sometimes I stay open if the weather's good.
And the current schedule has them finishing maybe before Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So it's in their interest to get done, otherwise they have to wait till the spring.
I was just wondering if there was anything that could delay it, that they can use as
I'm sure there is.
an excuse to delay.
Listen, the Steelers lose a couple games in a row, someone's gonna tell us we're behind schedule, and we're gonna say, oh boy, I wish they'd play better, because that's how it is, so.
Well, we have a
I mean,
schedule.
weather's been as good as it could be, right? And here we are, so.
Well, we have a schedule, I guess, walkthrough with our police, with Monroeville Police, their EMS, fire safety, everything like that.
Yep. We can take care of all that too, if it's done in the spring.
Now, when does Miko, does he have anything as far as his wiring that needs to be done?
That's going on currently. Our contractor is pulling, our electrical contractor is pulling cables from the main distribution facility to the local closets and then to the rooms. But Miko is putting in the security system with a direct contractor with that and some other items. And he's part of our planning process. He comes to our bi-weekly meetings now with the owner's team so that he knows what's going on and we can point him in the right direction so that he can be as efficient as possible. Because there is a lot to do with, on his end, to be able to flip the switch and be able to walk into the school and have everything operating.
So not only does the wiring need to occur, it needs to be configured, then that configuration needs to be tested, then people need to be trained on it. So there's a lot of work.
Technology.
With beyond just true construction, yes.
So we have 20 weeks to take care of 9%. Do they get vacation for Christmas?
People individually will do what they do.
I didn't know if it was like we had to shut down.
No, there are no,
Okay.
the job is not shut down.
9% in
anything
20
like that.
weeks.
Miko,
God bless you.
Miko, what do you feel is going to be your biggest, I guess, I don't want to say conflict, but to get everything done what you need done?
Barrier.
So the biggest thing is waiting on the infrastructure for the network. So we have all the equipment for the network, but until we can put the network in place, we can't configure security cameras, door locks, AV equipment, or anything. So that is what's holding us up from doing more. But once that network is in place, we can complete a lot of other sub-projects.
Now, is all that going to fall on your shoulders?
Some of it has been contracted out, so the security cameras have been contracted out. The parts with the TVs, the mounting TVs, someone else is handling. However, we have to configure them for our network.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Anyone else? Any questions for Doug or Hank? All right, thank you, gentlemen.
I have one for Hank, guy. Did you talk to Hank about taking a look at the courtyard up the high school?
No, that's, I think, do we have it on here, Bob?
That one's not
On
on
there.
this list.
We could add that. We could add it to the bottom.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess we're moving on to Mosside Middle School building utilization for
Yep, we're,
24, 25.
yeah, this is just more of a, just a heads up. We're looking, we're looking into some things that we can do with this building. We have Keystone Solutions who we've contracted with, a third-party contract for, people services special ed director while we were in, waiting for Tara to get here. And they're working on some things for us. So just want to make sure everyone aware that we are working on some things, and we'll make sure we provide you with some information around that. It is a long process, so if we're going to do that, we need to do it we'll probably in January, really start the process. We want to make sure everyone's aware of it. That's coming.
What does Keystone Services do?
We're looking at, maybe a licensed private school where they would manage it, but with our teachers. Obviously our facilities, and so there's some things to work out there.
Okay.
But the amount of money we pay for outside placements, it could be $60,000 a student. So we're kind of running those numbers and working on that right now as we speak. So just wanted to make sure you were aware of that.
Okay.
And then lead testing in PA schools. Schools in PA, they're encouraged to test for lead in drinking water, but not required. But what is required that we do, if we do not test, is discuss the lead issues at a public meeting, and that's what we'll do here today. So Bob has some background and can kind of share that with you.
As far as the lead testing goes, when it was brought up by the state 6 or 7 years ago, we immediately tested all our schools, all the drinking fountains in all of our schools. We've tested twice so far, and we've discussed it at various meetings, generally the Buildings and Grounds meetings, to meet our requirements. See, I just got a quote. We discussed how much further we should go in testing. Like every faucet in every bathroom, every outlet in every kitchen. So I've got numbers on that, but Dr. Rossi and I kind of discussed it briefly. Numbers pretty high. So we're looking at making sure that we retest all of our drinking outlets, whether it's a bottle filler, a drinking fountain, anywhere that's reasonable that somebody would get a drink from. Slop sinks are not a reasonable item to do that. So we're looking at the numbers. Right now, I think it was in the neighborhood of 24,000, but there was hundreds and hundreds of outlets to test. So we're backing that off to get to the right number that we can do.
I'm sorry, $24,000.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, not items, but $24,000. I just received a quote yesterday. We marked up prints and had them price it. I think that's a little more than we wanted to bite off to. There's just areas that aren't really feasible.
Can you go back 1 second?
Sure.
Okay. How do you test for lead? What are reasonable levels? Like,
Well,
can you?
the EPA is 0.0015 is their limit.
Okay.
Anything above that, you have to take action.
Okay, so like we just don't have that litmus paper. You have to bring in a company to do this?
No, you come in, you have to flush that for each outlet for 10 minutes. It has to sit no less than 8 hours, no more than 18 hours. Then take their sample, document all that, the chain of custody, they call it, then send it to the lab, and they do their work. And
So when you did this, how many years ago? 6?
the last time we did it was 2020.
So, okay, 2020 is 3 years ago. So what did we find 3 years
Our
ago?
water lines here in Monroeville are excellent. We had 4 out of 148 samples that were out of whack. We had them retested because they were just really out of whack. They came back excellent. We had 0 lead issues within our district.
So the news story that called out Evergreen School
Was incorrect.
was incorrect.
Yes. And I printed everything off for Dr. Rossi and showed him where we did the retest, and we have those results.
And so we did that in 2020.
Yes, so now, like every 3 years, COVID messed that up a little bit, so that's why we're looking at getting it done again.
Okay.
How does, and you might not have an answer to this, but how does lead, if there isn't any, how does it end up there?
Well, old plumbing fixtures that could have solder that had lead in it from, decades ago. Monroeville, so they tell me, has 0 lead lines, service lines into any homes within this district at all. So that's a good thing for us. It's not like Pittsburgh or Flint, Michigan, all of that. So that's how, even our oldest drinking fountains, which I believe is right here, they come back way under the levels. So we just haven't had that, but that's where it could come from.
Okay. Yeah, I just didn't know where it came from.
Good question. With the Gateway Middle School, the new one, will we have to do any kind of testing over there since there hasn't been any flushing of water or anything?
We wouldn't do that this year, but the next time around it should be done, yes.
Is that due to the piping that is like under the building that wasn't dug up?
Well, their service lines now, they've replaced them in the streets already. They're all plastic. So the line coming from there to us doesn't have lead. None of their lines have lead. So we're not expecting to have anything. And we're replacing all the old, valves, faucets, those kind of things that Hank just spoke about. We just still have to do it because of the school code.
Oh, it doesn't have like a certain year if made after. Okay.
No.
All right. Thank you.
And Jack, we have Don Hall on the line. Is there any report that he could offer us? Any words of wisdom he might have for us? Don Hall, can you hear us?
Concerning lead testing?
Anything.
Okay, sorry. Are we done with lead testing? Anyone have any more questions about that? Yeah, okay.
So is there anything from him with respect to buildings and grounds?
Well, the only thing that I was going to chime in with, but I didn't want to ruin the flow there as we transitioned into a new topic, was I think another neat thing is that some of our middle school sports teams do practice in the summer in anticipation of the fall season. So I think it's going to be, if the building's open in April, ready to be open in April and May, some of those transition things could be summer practices for those athletic teams at the middle school on their new facilities, which I think would be great as well in orientation for the facility. But I have nothing else as far as the topics we're talking about. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
All right. The next is another update, the Pittsburgh After School Academy at Cleveland Stewart Elementary School. We're ready to move forward with that. However, we want to make sure you're aware that the base program does pay $50 a day. And right now, there's not anything in the agreement with Pittsburgh After School Academy on what that cost would be. So it'd be PM only, so we were just going to suggest $25. So we can put that in the board packet and make a motion for next week, but just want to make sure you're aware of that. Any questions around that? All right. And then we have some miscellaneous updates. Bob, we start with the dance studio.
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna have Hank talk on these.
All right.
The number 7 goes with 8.
Okay.
So an update on the dance studio. We looked at this several different times, and we looked at the options of bidding it out as a public bid project or being able to get it into segments that could be 3 quotes. And what Bob and I kind of landed on was there are pieces of this that make perfect sense to get quotes on. So we would like to start by getting asking for 3 quotes from different contractors. That way you can choose the contractors you want the quotes from. And if those numbers come in within the limits that the state allows you, we can get that work done with the quote process and not have to incur the expense of going out to bid. So the goal is to do that and get those prices so that this work can start. At this point in it, you're not using that area, so the work could start anytime, but ideally, it might make sense to just get the quotes, get them in lined up, get all the material ordered, get everything ready to go, so that when school's out, they can come in and they can finish it over the summer and be done with it for next school year and not affect the rest of the school year at all.
Well, I'm just gonna say something. We've had this dance studio, 3 years maybe, we haven't used it, and with our musicals and productions, everything that they've been doing, that's why that was put in. So we're looking at another year that we're not gonna be using this. So,
So if you would prefer, we can get the quotes and ask the contractors to start as soon as possible. But as soon as possible with lead times and things in this day and age is not going to be a month after you get the quotes. It's going to take time to get the quotes and then time to get the material, and so that there's going to be time there. But we can have them start. It seems like it would be possible for the contractors to start before school was out.
well,
If that's what you wanted to have happen.
what I'm saying is the musical will be, April. They won't have an opportunity to use it. So this is what I'm just saying. We just keep postponing everything, so we need to make that decision to start getting this stuff done.
So I am new to this. So where is the dance studio?
It's in the high school, Bobby. Can you explain exactly where it is?
Adjacent to the auditorium. It's actually right off the lobby of the auditorium.
Okay.
You know where the restrooms are? Yeah, on that same wall.
Okay.
And what had happened, I'm sure most of you are familiar with it, but what had happened was there was water infiltration over the years in that dance studio, and it rusted the seats, the ends of the joists that were holding the floor up, and it rusted them to the point where they fell into a crawl space, so they fell a couple of feet down, and so there's a section of the floor that needs to be rebuilt.
Thank you.
So what do we have to do for him to move forward to retain the bids?
Get the quotes, right?
Right.
Yep.
Okay, but we don't have to do anything okay.
The other items, most of them Bob and I have talked about. Some of them are things that I think Bob is handling outside of our expertise, like item B under miscellaneous, asbestos mitigation and floor tile at the high school. I believe he's Bob's.
Well, that's actually a large project.
Okay.
That's why it's.
So what we would do is what we would recommend is you contact one of the asbestos mitigation companies that do this work, because you have to be licensed to even do the documents to get quotes for asbestos mitigation. The state does not allow architects to do that.
So why is this
it's a
being
separate
done
group.
now? What happened to trigger this?
Way above the dollar threshold that we can just.
No, I mean, why are we talking about this now? What triggered a discussion?
This was part of we had these items that Hank and I had spoken about to work on to get them out to bid so we could be able to do these.
All right, so maybe, my understanding was asbestos was only an issue if it was disturbed in some way.
It's a lot, what we have left is floor tile, and it's been releasing. So it is becoming loose and therefore becoming a problem. We've done asbestos mitigation every year, but with these numbers, we're just way over that level, so we have to go out to bid.
Do we have students in these areas where they're coming loose?
Those were taken care of this summer,
Okay.
but it's right around the corner. It's not gonna stop doing what it's been doing. It's been down there for 7 years. So every year, we're getting more and more, so we have a list of the rooms that we have to eliminate.
I'm sorry, floor tile's been down for 70 years?
It's been down since it's been built here, yes.
Good.
The old
Just like
asbestos
the locks,
tile
you put the
lasts.
right product in, it lasts.
Because
But we don't have issues with the subfloor.
no, I understand what you're saying, yeah, I was under the impression floor tile had a very short shelf life, which is why we made a very expensive decision. to go in a
The new
different
vinyl tile has a very short shelf.
It's not like
shelf
asbestos
life
tile.
compared to the old asbestos composite tile.
Gotcha. So you don't have any sense of the scope of this and when you,
I do, I have a whole list of the rooms, I just, and actually we
Okay.
had money in our budget for it.
Okay.
As well as the dance studio and some of these other items are already in our budget that's been approved.
Right.
Asbestos was like a preservation for the tile, basically?
No, it was made out of asbestos.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if the new tile that's not made of asbestos
fine.
only lasts a little while, it was like a, okay.
Okay, you said that these have been put in a budget that has been approved. When, do we have a dollar figure of what
There's dollars figured attached to each one.
would it be possible to share with the board, like, what we're,
Yeah, you have it. You can
You
go on
have
board
it,
docs,
you've
but
approved
I can email it to you.
We can put
It's in our capital
We'll put it in the
budget.
board
I
package.
can send you all a
okay.
copy.
Yeah.
I mean, we approved the budget, but we never had itemized line.
It's all on there.
We'll get it.
We'll get
I'll-
Okay.
We can get it all out to you.
Okay,
so you
pull
can
those
see
pieces
it.
out. We do have itemized lines. There's just
Yeah.
10,400 itemized lines.
Right.
So if they can just pull those.
That's what I'm saying, because I'm jumping
We're down
ahead.
to 10,200 lines.
Well, I don't know why you didn't read that 10,200 lines.
So these are just updates
We'll
of
include
where
it in the
we're at.
weekly packet.
That's, yeah, and
That'd be great.
with Hank working on the project over there, we've gotten behind as far as getting these.
Quite frankly, we've been concentrating on trying to get the middle school completed, but a lot of these things, when you look at the numbers, what we thought about dealing with it the same way as we were dealing with the dance studio. If the estimates are low enough that you can do it with 3 quotes, we would recommend doing it with 3 quotes. The ones that, the several that are over those numbers, we would have to put them out to bid. And ultimately, the goal would be to get them out to bid this spring so that it was work that could be done over the summer.
but we can't have, particularly with the dance studio, just since we've somehow managed to drag it out literally for years, is any delay at all. So however we expedite this, the dance studio in particular, obviously the asbestos mitigation is gonna be a pretty involved process that is not quite so
That has to
focal.
be without people.
Right,
there.
exactly.
It's a summer.
Exactly, so, work on that. The dance floor, we've already discussed, but we can't.
And we have met with some contractors already and gone over scopes and asked for some prices and some quotes. We haven't received them yet, but we'll stay on top of that.
Okay.
So I'm going to jump ahead that, like Jack, since we have discussed the dance studio, we have discussed this lift at UP. I want to say it has been canceled for 4 years now. Yeah,
That's probably accurate.
pretty much. So, that's another thing that has to be, because we really, I don't want to say out of compliance, but, there's no way to get students or staff upstairs if they are handicapped, if they're crutches of any kind like that.
Yeah,
So-
and that's one of the ones that will have to be bid. It's going to be over the 3 quote limit.
Okay. Bob, didn't we have people look at that?
Yes.
So, okay.
Hank looked at it, he's looked at it twice with me, for location and scope.
Okay, so I'm taking, just by everything that we're talking about, Hank, you're gonna be the architect for all this? Is this,
Well, what has happened was, since I was here and I was working on that, I had offered to look at all these things, and I'm happy to continue to look at all these things and put them out to bid and do those types of things if that's what the board wants to,
I mean, because we're talking about it, I mean, if
I think what we need to do is we need to identify which ones we're gonna go out to bid and prioritize, are the ones that 3 questions, because there's thresholds. If you hit a certain number, you have to go out for bid.
And what is, I'm sorry, was the lift in the budget also?
Yes.
I missed that line too.
So we'll get all that.
This was in the
Yeah.
budget.
Yeah.
So all this is in the budget, and you're hoping to get all this done over the summer?
We are hoping to get all of this in front of the board in a reasonable amount of time so that the contractors can get it done over the
So
summer.
that we can vote on it and
That's
get
where we're
it
going
going?
now, yes.
I gotta know, well, we skipped over the women's restroom at the north entrance, and I think people are on the edge of their seats wondering, what's happening with that?
It's in the same boat. That's, there's a lot to do that with Allegheny County on that we cannot do in-house, so it was never there. So that's part of what has to go out to bid.
What was never there?
The women's restroom in that area.
That one's a little bit more difficult than some of the other ones because you have to get the county in and get their approvals, and that does take some time.
Why? Why does the county need to approve the bathroom? Well, I mean, it's a why, we're not asking to remove it, we're asking to add some. You would think it'd be the opposite.
When you get at the county level, it takes some time for them to do the reviews, and they always will find comments, and then you have to pick up the comments, and then it goes back for a second round of reviews, and it takes some
Who
time.
reviews it? The health
to do that.
department?
Yes.
Do we have the China for that
No, that
area?
would all be new.
Yeah.
Okay.
And where exactly, it says the north entrance highway, which,
Yes, there is
The new one.
there's a room within that short hallway that's designated and constructed to accept this.
I'll show you.
Don't call Monroeville and it's up to code. We literally have to call the health department and say, hey, guys.
There, it doesn't matter if it's plumbing, it's the Allegheny County Health Department.
That's 3 things I've learned.
Okay, here's the next thing everyone wants to know. What's a man trap?
Yeah, that one I know.
You forgot D.
It's this space that you have here where visitors come and they can't get through the first door, and then they're running in, and they can't get through the second door.
Oh, and because we can get from the steps at you.
Yes.
So what are we
Yes.
doing?
Yeah, UP's been an issue because of the way it was
Built,
designed.
yeah. Well, can we just
While
make
we're
a
at,
hallway?
maybe, to be honest with you, Evergreen
Mm-hmm.
it has the trap, but the office sits back in CSE too. There's not a direct sight line.
Wasn't that the same case at Ramsey? The office sits back.
Yeah, but at least they're that's straight on at least.
And by the way, I skipped the restroom at pre-K because I was so fascinated by the man trap. What's happening with the restroom?
What do we do? Well, what are we doing with the man trap? Like making it a hallway so this side's open and this side's
Actually, we're
not?
looking at outside the building, in front of the front doors, under the canopy, because there's nowhere inside to actually do it. And we've been wrestling with that for many years.
It's not an ideal solution.
It's just the way it's laid out, it's not great.
Well, while you're
Oh,
looking.
come on, move the steps, it'll be fine.
While you're looking at that, is there something that maybe you could do for where the secretary is that they could see out because of the blind spot?
Or a camera?
Yeah, a window.
A window?
Yes,
We
there is.
talked about
There's a brick
that.
wall there, yes, but that's just part of designing it.
Okay.
Your restroom at the pre-K?
Yes, sir.
That was just brought to me this year when we were putting a pre-K at University Park.
Right.
So that's fairly new. They have a single-seat restroom within that room.
So would the county have to come in with that too?
Yep.
And can we not have it automatically flush?
Yes.
You can teach the
The
young
answer
people.
is yes, you don't need that.
It scares
because it scares
them.
someone.
It's
We've actually had
scary.
to do that in some buildings, take them off and just use the handle.
And that's the nice thing about the battery operated ones, they're easily removed and easily installed.
Okay, and they make a book, everybody poops, cause it's scary, come on, it's pre-K.
Oh, yeah, no, we've actually changed the handles out so
For
we
the-
can use them manually.
Okay.
You take a note, Chef.
I
Did you write that? Read
I
that
love the book, Everybody Poops, you know, one hump camel makes a one hump poop, a two hump camel makes a two hump poop. I love that book. Just saying.
See, it is.
And it didn't mention toilets at all, by the way, just to be clear. Nowhere did it mention.
Yes, we're still moving on,
but, you
Josh.
know.
All right, what else we have? Exterior concrete, Ramsey.
Yes, there's a lot of it.
Okay, meeting adjourned.
Yes, we've done the front entranceway when we did the Governor's Drive there, but that concrete has a lot of tripping hazards and just chunks out of it. If we don't do it all at once, and we do as Hank suggested, we could do piecemeal over 3 years, and that's actually what we have in the budget. You'll see it, that it's in 3 different phases, to try to keep the numbers reasonable.
And if you do that over 3 years in your quotes, you don't even need to get
Right.
for that.
Okay. Any thoughts on that? Any questions?
I do.
Yes, sir.
Where are we at with the fencing around the playground at Ramsey?
Somebody do something.
I have not received anything in writing from Monroeville or anybody that we are allowed to do it. They said, sure, you can do it, but without something from them in writing, we have that dollar in that same budget.
So John, if you get an intergovernmental,
You know, Tim Little has said, yeah, you can do that.
Tim's gone.
Give me something in writing.
They had a little bit of a changeover there too, though.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
They were all apparently in agreement. I spoke with Public Works, with Mike. He has nothing from them either, so
We'll
kind of in
follow up.
limbo.
We'll follow up.
We've asked for it, but have not received it.
that's all I have, Mr. President.
you brought up about the courtyards.
Yeah, I asked Hank if he's gonna do the courtyard.
I'm just not aware of that courtyard.
I'm happy to help.
Guy
them
knows
out.
about it.
We've talked about
I
like putting that in the
haven't
budget
made-
for next year, because it's not in this year's budget, right?
No, and right now, so we met Justin Stevens, Mr. Pottinger, and one of his students. They had an idea that they would like to be involved with that courtyard. I met with them, I asked them to give me an end game, so I know what they're trying to do and that I would help them along with what it would take to get it, dollars figured for it and ready to come to the board where the students could come and pitch that.
Yeah, because we have that pre-K right across from the hallway there.
Yeah, no, it's a space that could be used a lot better than it is now.
I figured since we have Hank here, might as well.
So which courtyard we are talking about?
That's a hard one.
It's a hard one to describe.
Auxiliary gym.
You passed the library hallway.
I see, okay. So it's house school.
Yes.
That's house school.
Now, okay, I'm gonna move on with something else. The bathrooms up at the baseball field. We had problems with that, with the pressure.
Yeah, we seem to have gotten that corrected. We are the highest point in Monroeville, so our pressure is less than other areas. So we worked with the water department, they came out, helped us work on the meters, the backflow preventers, and all of the fixtures. And since then, we have not had an issue.
Okay. All right. I'm just gonna ask here, since we have a meeting coming Tuesday, could we put on the agenda, if Hank is in agreement, to have him as the architect so we don't have to go out and look for one? I mean,
Do we need an engineer too?
I thought we had one.
We do. The
Oh,
water
okay.
container eats, so we do work with eats. It depends on the project and what it is, but, we get in contact with Don Black there. They are engineer that we hold on retainer.
Okay, and then he would be our architect.
He's not an architect, he's an engineer.
Hank.
Hank's an architect.
Yeah, right,
He would
and
be
he
like-
would, he
If
would be
that's what you
the what did I say?
I mean,
Yeah,
if we're
architect.
talking about this, he knows about this. I'm just thinking myself that it makes sense just to have him involved in this. I don't know how anybody else feels, if something we can vote on, but to get these projects moving along, we need to start putting them along.
I talked to, and I think Dr. Rossi talked to you about this. I know a lot of people have noticed the concrete balls that have been placed in front of some of the buildings. Can we get the art kids and have them paint them? And like it.
Are you asking my opinion on that, or?
Well, I mean, number one, I don't know what kind of material.
Paint them on their own.
I don't know what kind of material it is, like, but if we could, you know, and then I understand like upkeep, but every year, maybe cycle through the.
If that's what you want, sure, you can do that.
I mean, is it feasible, are they capable based on the material
Oh,
and
yeah, it's
stuff?
concrete.
You know,
Yes,
and would we be able to purchase?
Let me see if I can turn that around. Some paints stick well to concrete, latex doesn't. So if the kids use some sort of finger paint or latex, it would look good for about a day and then start to peel and look terrible. So that's the question, what sort of paint material?
Well, there's masonry products out there just
And then,
for concrete.
are they dangerous and kids shouldn't be using them is her
A
question.
lot of them are latex these days, so that's not an issue. It's just, what do you want to see when you pull up to your schools? You know, elementaries are one thing, high school's a different
Visible
thing, so that's really
Well, no, maybe get the
not my
art
decision.
teacher involved and.
I understand, but sometimes they're used for different reasons. Obviously, you want to keep a threat from going into the building, but a lot of times they're visible so people can see them when they're backing up and not run into.
So painted might make them more visible though.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, you just have to keep that in mind, you know, when you're.
Yeah, I'll let all the art people, I just didn't know if it was possible, or if it's something
is
the school
possible.
wanted to do,
Whatever you'd
if they
like
wanted
to
to
see.
get the, you know, the students involved as a project. And of course, they would design them, maybe hold a little contest, we'll give them a prize for their best art project along with their best bus project.
Yeah, and you'd have to have some kind of design. You can't just say, okay.
Yeah, no, it wasn't gonna be, yeah, maybe just whatever, you know, each building of that year is feeling, because it would have to be kept up, I would think, every year.
When it comes,
All the,
Just a thought.
I guess, barriers, have they been placed at all the schools or what
We have
schools?
not done the satellite schools. You know, we were doing a lot of football games and such, so we did this campus.
Okay.
So we have to do the elementaries,
Now,
the 3 elementaries.
I'm just, okay, Evergreen UP, do they have enough space at University Park to put one there in the
Yes.
front? Okay,
Yes.
What if
actually,
you bring
there'll be
them in?
3 of them at University Park. One at the
Side.
front door, one at the side door, which is a direct
Right.
line of sight for a car.
Right.
And the third one would be around the rear to protect the freezer, because it seems people can't miss that big silver box.
Okay.
so Leslie, I like your idea. However, on the other side of it, I'm thinking about what bus drivers and parents might want to be able to see. They want to see consistency when they pull up to a school. So if you have that barber shop style of painting, in other words, this is something you don't go near. So buses, they don't have to look every time to see that something's changed. They can just avoid it. So you want it to be safety oriented rather than decorative.
Target's all red.
That's all I was trying to say.
That's right. It's for
Well, yeah, I wasn't
uniformity.
gonna make it a free-for-all, it was just a thought.
Well, that's just a thought too,
Well, yeah,
safety.
it's a thought. Yeah, right.
I don't want a school bus to back into it, or someone else
We'll get the
who's grabbing their kids and
We'll
got a
get
lot
the
of things
neon
going
green
on.
paint with the
Buses backing
reflective
up, I
paint.
mean, they got one mirror and they have to look back and forth as they're going back. They don't want to say, now, am I at the school where this is green and purple and red, or am I at the one where this is black and gold? It needs to be uniform.
One thing I did notice before we came in is that Hank and Bob, you were picking out floor tile color,
That's actually a stain color.
a stain. And if in the future, any items like that, if you could bring it to the school board so they could see what's being proposed or picked out, and if we by chance have a sample of it, so the school board could touch and feel and see.
Yes.
I understand it's a stain and it
To
comes.
refresh everybody's memory, when we started the project, we did come in with a color palette board that showed the color scheme for everything. But then throughout the process, and we can certainly do that, but throughout the process, there are little pieces here and there that fall through the cracks, and the goal is to keep a consistent color palette, so that's what we do, but yes, we can certainly bring those to you. Like, for instance, tonight, we talked about stained concrete in the it happens in a couple places. It happens in the kitchen, it happens in the art rooms, it happens in the TV studio. There's just a couple places where it made sense where you didn't want, either because of durability, or because of cleanliness, or because of seams where you didn't want different types of flooring. Like in the TV studio, you don't want vinyl tile down because you don't want all those little seams, because as you're rolling a camera back and forth, believe it or not, it transpose up from the little lines in the tile all the way up to the camera. In the art room, you're doing a lot of stuff with messy stuff, and the concrete's easy to clean, and the same thing goes in the kitchen. So to give the board an idea of what we talked about was that building is basically grays and golds to deal with the school colors. So we looked at using a gold color in the cafeteria so that it would show the dirt, the kitchen, so that it would show the dirt, so that it would be easy to see the dirt and clean the dirt. And in the art rooms and the other settings, we looked at a darker gray color that would work well with the colors in those rooms. And that's what we use. And we'll do that whenever we choose these colors.
Thank you.
Mr. Jack, did you get your choice in your office?
I did not, no, which is okay.
What are your favorite colors?
It's fast. It's okay. All right, I'm done.
Plain is plain to me, yeah, whatever.
Anyone else?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Time is it adjourned?